Are you a competitive parent? Does your child have to be better, faster, smarter than the other children? Or maybe you know someone just like that. 1300 222 720. And the most interesting call, the most insightful call today, the story you can tell us about competitive parenting, is going to win one of 2 double passes to Lala and Buzz Meet Wasso. This concert's on, it's not too far away actually, Sunday the 5th of November, starting at 11 o'clock at the Perth Concert Hall. So you need to have that day free if you'd like to go along. All you need to do is call this number, 1300 222 720, with your most interesting story about competitive parenting, what you saw, and maybe you were involved in it, so how you handled it, and what impact it had on you. 1300 222 720. Parent educator Claire Orange is here for you this afternoon. Hello.
Hi, Belinda.
What is this competitive parenting? How would you describe it?
Yeah, well, there was a really interesting study that came out of Wollongong Uni earlier this week about competitive parenting and how it looked between mums and dads and how it's expressed differently and how now with social media it's expressed widely and really the impact on the child and the family and other families looking in, and absolutely fascinating results.
So what did it find, those differences between the mum and the dads?
Well, they're finding that now as parenting is changing, the face of parenting is changing, and more dads are much more involved with their families and are seen to be even that primary caregiver with their children, that we don't have a lot of research. But what we know is dads tend to be a bit more relaxed. It's not often dads who are putting things up about children winning awards and etc. on their social media, and mums are. And the reason that they're saying is that as mums, there's a lot of pressure on us to get it right with the child, whereas previously, traditionally, dad's kind of been a lot more relaxed and fun. So they gave this example of how a mum would read and a dad would read to a child, and a dad's lying on the floor in a book and a child's rolling around and they're having a bit of a giggle and the mum's saying, and that word is, and this word is. And there's much more of you've got to get an education and an outcome, because I guess somehow it reflects back on you. So just those different roles between mums and dads, which is speaking quite traditionally and is changing, but that it does impact the way that mums and dads are working with children.
So why are the mums like that?
Well,
what's driving it?
Why are we like that, Belinda? It's such a good question. I suppose, right from, I don't know if you did playgroup with your little people, but I did. And sometimes, I remember one of my children only started walking at 16 months. So I kind of had this little potato who just sat there like a blob, and he just knew people would pick him up and carry him around. And there was a lot of pressure, about when he's going to walk. And, my daughter walked at 9 months. And people then do this competition and a bit of shaming if your child's not keeping up, and then you can get a bit worried. And I think because mums are doing a lot more of the schoolyard thing and the playgroup thing and the mothers group thing, that element of competition, and also if your child's not doing that well or developmentally just not keeping up, that people then start to look at you as the mother, and often there's the what are you doing as a parent conversation, and that's tough.
So it's actually more about the parent than anything to do with the child.
Yeah.
The parent wants to be their child, to reflect better on them if their child is doing some of these things before any other child in the group.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And I'm sure you would have seen it at Mother's Group. It's certainly not uncommon. And it's stressful. It's actually stressful as a mum. And I often feel for mums out there whose children might be having behavioural issues or sleep issues. You're the only one whose child is either sleeping through or never slept at all, and your eyes are on your knees. It becomes quite stressful keeping up in mummy land with those sorts of conversations.
Yeah, it sure would be. And I imagine with some of the impact would be with, say, if you're experiencing postnatal depression,
mm-hmm.
that would certainly add to anything you're feeling if you're going through that.
Absolutely. And then, enter the age of social media where we tend to put up the great and glowing moments of our children's lives, and the the many other disastrous moments where things are really not going well and you're not going to take out Mother or Father of the Year award, those you don't put up on social media. And so some people looking in see these almost perfect-looking lives, perfect-looking children without the disasters that kind of stitch together those great events.
ABC Radio Perth, it's 16 to 4, and Claire Orange, parent educator, in the studio for you this afternoon. It'd be great to hear from you. And really, we've got these 2 family passes to give away, and each pass has 4 tickets. So 2 kids, 2 parents can go along, 1 parent, 3 kids, whatever combination you'd like. This is for Lala and Buzz Meet Wasso. The concert is on Sunday the 5th of November, starting 11 o'clock. It's at the Perth Concert Hall. So if you've got that free, because it's not too far away, you don't have to plan too far ahead, you can call now and you can pick up one of these 2 family passes if you've got a question for Claire this afternoon. We're talking specifically about competitive parenting, but if you'd just like to join the conversation, let us know what you've seen, how you've handled that sort of situation. It'd be great to hear from you. 1300 222 720. And we do have to give them away this afternoon. So call through now, 1300 222 720. What impact does it have on the children, Claire? Do they pick up on this? I mean, not so much as a tiny baby, but as they get older, I imagine they would.
There's a lot of research coming out. The popular term is sharenting, oversharing of children, and that's in the digital form. But even just out there, the children who are feeling like they have to live up to these expectations. I don't know if you saw the BTN Behind the News research that came out a couple of weeks ago. Really interesting. So a huge sample size of Australian children. And one of the things that children have most anxiety about is living up to expectation and sometimes not knowing what that expectation is and feeling that they're going to let parents and other important people like their teachers down. So, yeah, I think that this can have a fundamental impact on children.
And does it ever stop? I was talking about those early stages, with the sitting up, the walking, talking, and then it progresses into the primary school years, the high school years. Does it get more competitive as the years go on?
I think it just changes shape. I mean, we've got, thankfully with 4 boys, my preparation for the Year 12 ball for my second one isn't beginning yet. That will begin about 3 days before we're there. I apologise to his ball partner. But certainly I know that there's a lot of pressure around what you're going to wear, how you're going to look, how your hair and makeup. So those things, dinner dances for children, those are the things that can become a source of competition as well. And of course, it's held up in industry as well because it works out financially quite well for suppliers to have parents in competition with each other over parties and events and dresses.
13 to 4. Love to hear from you this afternoon. Best call this afternoon. We've got these 2 passes to give away, 2 double passes. So it's a family pass, 4 tickets in each pass to Lala and Buzz Meet Wasso on Sunday the 5th of November at 11 o'clock at the Perth Concert Hall. You just need to call.
Be part of the conversation. Call 1300 222 720.
Tim in Balladura, what's your story?
Yeah, I made a mistake of going to the childcare group with my wife one day when I had day off work. And I was sitting there with my kid, which I knew could just sit up barely and make some bubbling noises. And then one mum goes, "Oh, my kid can say mum and dad." The next one goes, "Oh, my kid can count to 10." The next kid goes, first one goes, "Oh, my kid can do the whole alphabet." And this is like a 10-month-old kid. My kid can barely sit. And so I said, "Oh, my kid can do long division to the 10th decimal point." I'm disappointed in that.
Tim, what a great response. Love it. Thank you for that. Sarah, what's your story?
Oh, look, I've got 2 kids. One's 16 and the other one's 10. The eldest one, Lily, dances, but Jackson is 10 and he's been lucky enough to be extremely good at athletics and extremely good at swimming, which is fantastic for him. And we don't push him. We've got, he's with a coach that wants him to enjoy things and just have a really good time. But it's the reaction of other parents, which sometimes is really quite shocking. We sort of, celebrate everything, whether he has a bad run or a good run. It's always just about the effort that he put in and congratulating him for that. But having parents go up to a finish line and take his little slip off of him so they can look at what time he did, And you just like, he just wants to come and celebrate whether it was a PB or not a PB. And parents who are like, everything their child done is whether or not they beat Jackson on the day, which is really awful for their child, but it's really not nice for Jackson either, because he's dealing with this expectation of everybody else just judging their child against what his performance is, and that's not what it's about, you know. And even at swimming, you know, people putting 10-year-old kids into $300 competitive bathers, and you're like, well, you know, with Jackson, it's like we just want him to learn how to swim with good technique. He doesn't need $300 bathers, and if he gets to a stage where he wants to continue. But, yeah, some parents, and it's probably not even their kids couldn't care less about what Jackson's done, but the parents care, which is really quite sad.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I think competition doesn't just have to be about your own child. It can be about how your child is going against other children. And, you know, you've got that in the sporting arena, but some children have it in the classroom as well. You know, their performance is scrutinised, and there's a bit of shame if they don't perform as well as they did last time. And you know, parents at parent nights are seeing who's doing the best story and how their child compares. It's pretty high pressure sometimes for our kids.
Good afternoon, Jane.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Jane.
Afternoon.
I'm just phoning because I feel there's a lot of pressure on parents at the school gate, you know, when they drop their children off at school. If the parent is a little bit different, maybe dresses a bit differently, that can have an impact on the children. Maybe their parents go home and talk about that to their child. The parent stands out a bit, then the child can suffer because of that.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think there's a word of caution and care and compassion, is that, you know, we need to get less judgmental, because we are conditioning our children. They are basing the way they behave on the way we behave. And you're so right. And it can be difficult being the different mum or the different dad.
Is the best idea to try, if you're a parent like that, to try and pull yourself out of that situation and remove yourself from that? Because that might be quite difficult for a parent who's been like that since day one.
And why should you? You know, we all have the right to express ourselves, the way we speak, the way we look, the way we parent our children. We all have that. That's a fundamental right of every human being. And to feel like you can't represent yourself in the way that you want to, that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad.
Jane, thank you for that call. I really appreciate that. And Claire, great to have you in the studio today. I think we've just about got our winners. I might make that just before the news at 4 o'clock. The winners of those 2 family passes to see Lala and Buzz meet Wasso at the Perth Concert Hall, Sunday the 5th of November. We had 2 passes to give away, 2 family passes. So I'll reveal all just before the news at 4. Claire Orange, parent educator, great to have you in the studio this afternoon. Thank you for